Hey, welcome back to the podcast. I am Justin Stacy.
I'm Nate Thomas.
I am under the weather. I'm Josh Matney.
Fair enough. Yeah, that stinks that you're under the weather. But
Yeah.
I
hope you
just
feel
like
better
that
soon.
it took you being sick for you to say something funny.
Oh wow!
Oh,
Burn,
Oh,
burn,
shots
sir.
fired!
not even a few minutes into this.
Shots fired!
Wow!
I'm going to be Rob Riggle today.
Waka waka. That's good stuff. So this week we are doing our Thanksgiving special, and we're covering the Addams Family Values. It's funny that this movie falls into the Thanksgiving movie. Like if you look up movies for Thanksgiving, this is probably the top picked movie. But it's not based around that time at all. I mean,
No, it's in the summer.
It's in the summer. I'm sure it was released in the summer. It may have been released in October. That's usually when Addams Family movies release now is in October. But actually, Wednesday is releasing November this year. Like this month is when the show Wednesday is coming out. So that's kind of interesting. But yeah, it was a summer movie, and in the movie itself, it's summer. Yet they do a play on the first Thanksgiving, which is it's funny. It's an interesting choice for a summer play.
You've given it a lot more thought than the script writers ever did.
Yeah, exactly. But I mean, that's what we're covering. You know, I've always enjoy rewatching these movies. You know, I don't want rewatch them every year. It's not like a yearly thing for me, but I've watched them probably 8-9 times in my lifetime. I enjoy it every time. You know, I think that it holds up well. The casting as well. I think Christina Ricci probably is the most notable character in the show. I think Wednesday steals, in my opinion, it steals the show for Addams Family Values with her, you know, acting in the play and such.
Well, her and Christopher Llyod really makes those characters.
I
really have a hard
yeah.
time picturing anybody else play those characters now.
It's funny, Christopher Llyod. You know, we'll talk about this more in a few minutes, but he is such a good actor, and I agree. I do question if he is playing Fester or if he's playing himself. It looks like Fester, and so that's my only criticism of Christopher Llyod. But we'll talk about that in a few minutes. But you know, what was your all's, I guess, initial thoughts on rewatch of this?
I mean, I'm a fan.
Yeah. Sorry, Matt. Go ahead.
Okay.
No, I'm a fan.
Simple. I'm a fan.
No,
Oh,
I'm a fan. I'll wait till we get into it. I have nothing but fond memories of this film.
Oh yeah.
Mhm.
Whenever I think of Addams Family, I think of these two movies. The over the TV show and the cartoon show and anything else.
Now, you know, my mom, I think she actually grew up with the original TV show, and I can remember when I was a kid, her introducing me to the original TV show, and it's okay. I don't think I ever fell in love with it. But I was more of a Munsters fan, and I think part of the timeline is the Addams Family was first, and I believe the Munsters come out right after it. You know, Addams Family was around the late 50s, early 60s time frame, and then I think the Munsters were right after that. And I believe the Munsters end up canceling the Addams Family because it becomes so popular. And then I believe from there, Batman, 60s Batman, when it came out, took over all of them. So, you know, it was a competition. I guess where there wasn't a lot of like stations for these things to be, you know, hosted on. It was just a complete competition. So one would end up canceling the other type
There
thing.
were 3 channels.
Yeah.
There were 3 now.
Yeah, there's 3 channels. So it's kind of interesting how all of that goes down. But anyway, it's a very good movie, and I'm looking forward to jumping into it. So before we get started, like our content, please. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, share, comment, and all that jazz. And with that, sit back, relax, put your feet up, as we open a bottle of pop culture. All right, guys. For the first stanza of the intro, I will play it on guitar, and then you all respond with finger snaps. Simple enough. Got it?
Me, 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 me.
Tell me you're not going to talk this way the entire scene.
Me, 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 me.
Seriously, how are we supposed to understand him?
He takes his role playing seriously, and I respect that.
You would. Also, can we just address the elephant in the room before we start your ridiculous theme song?
Sure. What's
You're
that?
dressed as Gomez Addams. Don't you think that's a bit dangerous in 2022? You are the whitest person I know.
Crap. You're right. I wasn't thinking.
You never do. If I were you, I'd go change into someone else before we get canceled.
You know what? I should probably do that. I will be right back.
Listen to the words coming out of my mouth. I can't understand you.
Me.
I'm gonna murder you in your sleep. Finally. Well, let's get this thing going, please, and get it over with. All right, so you play the intro, we snap our fingers. What else? What was that? I didn't catch that. You've got to be kidding me. Now, neither one of you are talking.
Me.
You two are completely ridiculous. We can't continue the scene if I can't communicate with either one of you. Justin, please go change into a verbal character, but let's just call it a day on this thing. I seriously don't know why I tolerate either one of you.
Me.
Ugh. Well, this is boring. Standing around waiting on Justin to find a character to cosplay doesn't seem like very good script writing.
Me.
What? You wanted me to change into another character, and I did.
Look, pal, we really need to talk. You realize there is absolutely no way you can portray a female Native American.
Me.
For the love of all that's holy, Joshua, speak English.
You know what? I think we're going to be fine. People have a sense of humor. So let's just get on with the intro.
There it is, folks. I knew this was going to happen.
Looks like we're officially canceled.
Oh, so now you can talk normally.
Well, might as well break character. Justin went and ruined everything.
Well, yeah. I really messed this up, didn't I?
Yes, you did. You normally do. But I have one thing that could possibly save this scene from being a complete disaster.
All right. Well, the first thing I guess we should attempt to do is to describe this movie badly. Anyone want to take a stab at that? I actually didn't think of anything beforehand.
Lifelong bachelor continues to have no luck in love.
There we go.
The Addams, especially Fester, has some kinks that we need to address, I guess. Pain fetishes.
I think they all do.
I think so. Yes. The horror, the childhood horrors of summer camp.
And it's probably the most coolest Pocahontas rendition I've ever seen. That's what I would want to see on the big screen.
That's right. It was something. Like, in my opinion, the camp scene and the Pocahontas specifically made the movie for me, and it's why it's known as a Thanksgiving movie, is because of this. And it's so controversial, or it's not really controversial for 2022, I guess. But in the 90s, to hear this, that it was a controversial thing. I feel like to come out, from mainstream Hollywood, to really throw in the face of history of a whitewashed history of Thanksgiving. And so this is not what you're normally hearing about the first Thanksgiving. Everything was, great, and then you have Wednesday just blow it up.
Yeah. Like, this was really early, it's not a very political movie, obviously, but like, as far as like moments like that, when you see in films from like the 90s or whatever, is way ahead of what it's now. Like, now it's like almost, it's all over the place. Like, we've acknowledged like whitewashing certain movie, characters and people over the years. And I'm kind of glad that we are kind of being more inclusive and kind of acknowledging these problems. But yeah, like, that whole scene is probably like my favorite part of the movie.
It's my favorite part of the movie for sure.
Now, what's crazy is like the original idea of the Addams Family. I don't think they were like a family. They were just a bunch of random characters in comic book strips, and then like I guess the creator wound up just like naming them the Addams Family or something. Like, they wasn't
really?
like, yeah, like originally they wasn't just this idea of a family. And that is a theme of the movie where I think is what shines, because like, even though they're kind of like the odd people of the white picket fence crew, family is like very important to them, and that's like a very strong theme of the movie.
That's interesting, and I think it probably runs through the Addams Family lore, in that, as weird as they are, as outcast as they are, as a family structure, they have it together.
Yeah.
Like, they are the picture perfect family. The husband and wife love each other unconditionally. And I mean, yeah, you get the sibling rivalry to a very extreme. It's comedic to the extreme that it's dark comedy.
You and Lisa didn't used to do that.
I guess we did kind of try to kill each other, and we never did. So I guess we were like the Addams Family. So I think the movie it definitely points out what we all dream of when we think of the American family, but they're just the perfect example of it. It's like they have so much of it together,
and they're very countercultural. Like, they're very
yeah, and that's why it works, and that's the criticism I've heard or I've read about Wednesday, is that they have made the universe of Addams Family in the Wednesday show, and again, I haven't watched it, so I don't know. So basically, having everyone be an outcast, everyone seems like they fit in the Addams Family now. That there's nothing unusual about them. It's like, it's just everybody's an outcast. But I think that's what makes Addams Family so unique, is they're an outcast. They are weird, and they're fitting, and they're navigating through the real world with all the other quote unquote real people. In my opinion, the Addams Family are more real than the other ones. The other ones are the fake people. Like, they are the rich snobs in the summer camp, all those parents and stuff. Those are the fake people.
Right.
The Addams Family are living what they preach. Basically, they are living out their true selves, and I think that's such a noble thing for us to strive for. To be yourself. To regardless of how weird it is, to be yourself. And I think that's one of the philosophy messages of the Addams Family, maybe.
And yeah, you see it when Fester leaves when he gets married to the what's her name, Debbie.
Yep.
So
big time.
Yeah, and family is a big theme with these, and countercultural, obviously, but like, can you imagine this being like in the 60s and something like this being on, so different and odd?
Yeah.
Because like, especially like during that era, that is, I couldn't imagine like someone who's like so used to like the typical, this is how it was supposed to look, and then they see this and it's like, oh, this is weird.
That's what's shocking to me, that this show started early 60s.
Yeah.
I wasn't around then, but I couldn't imagine anything being so out there than this show.
I don't know. You got the Woodstock music era, so you kind of.
Yeah, that's true. I guess that's true.
But like, I don't. these are the only ones I really ever go back
The
to and watch. Like
TV show was on
I can't really
64 to
say much about the
66.
show yet, but like,
Did you say 64 to 66, Nate?
Yep.
oh wow,
Hmm.
so yeah, that
Monsters was also on 64 to 66.
So it was the same time frame.
Yeah.
I thought the Monsters canceled the other. Maybe not.
And Batman came on in 66. It went off in 68.
Mm-hmm.
Just so we were talking about it.
Yeah. Good stuff. Yeah, I mean, and honestly, the Monsters, I think, really did steal their idea from the Addams Family. Or,
Oh, yeah,
well,
they
if
were
it came on the
heavily-
same time, then but someone had to copy the other. Like both two outcasts family, that
Really?
try to navigate in the real world.
Deep Impact and Armageddon came out the same summer.
Well, that's true.
I mean, I know that's a generation later, but I mean, they came out
Yeah.
the same summer.
And let's fast forward to the early 2000s. The Illusionist and the
The Christopher
the other-
Nolan or The Prestige.
The Prestige
Which
came
is a
out the
great
same
film.
summer.
Yeah.
Great. I actually like both of them. The Prestige I like better. Just
Sometimes
two.
ideas just work that way.
Yeah, that it is true. But it also makes me wonder if someone's leaking information.
that happened this year with two films. Well, one's coming out now, but like, there's going to be there's a Pinocchio by
Yeah.
I always butcher his name, Del
Yeah,
Toro.
Del Toro, yeah.
And Disney released Pinocchio this year. So
Yeah.
I'm actually more looking forward to Del Toro's version, because it's going to be like
It's gonna make
animation,
everything
stop
else he
mo.
makes.
Yeah.
It's gonna make
So-
everything weird to watch.
So
I
like,
think so.
I'm always looking forward to what he has to put out there.
Interesting.
But
Yeah,
like,
Pinocchio is one of those. I mean, it's open domain, so anybody can actually make
Mhm.
a movie on it.
and I think this is almost like stop motion animation in a way. The way from what,
That'd be cool to watch
yeah.
for sure.
And if you're really into stuff like that, I would check out the movie Mad God. It's very weird, but it's very, it's a lot of stop motion animation stuff.
So here's a fun fact that I read about Addams Family Values, and I did not catch it. And it may be because I think in the Addams Family Values, the grandmother didn't have a lot of scenes, but two different actresses played the grandmother in Addams Family Values and the Addams Family movie. So in the Addams Family movie, it's an older actress, and they recast her to a much younger actress. So the lady that played it in Addams Family Values was younger than Morticia, the lady that played Morticia. Yeah. And they just did a lot of makeup to make her look older. But I honestly did not notice that actor change. And it may be just because the grandmother is so wild looking to begin with.
Well, she's not really a character in the film. She only has
Not really.
a handful of lines.
Yeah,
She doesn't-
that's true.
Because you have Morticia and Wednesday, you don't need a third female character right there. I mean, I know that sounds kind of misogynistic, but
Right.
you don't need an older woman.
Right. There's not enough screen time, and the story did not require the grandmother to really do anything. I mean, she did have the kind of funny lines when it was she was talking about the baby and the
Yeah.
illness of the baby, and it was great that when the baby was sick, it became normal.
Right. Doesn't happen to you guys?
Yeah. And I guess another fun fact about the baby is it was played by twin girls. So kind of interesting.
I like the mustache on the baby.
Me too. That's wonderfully done.
I thought the scene where she's reading to the baby, she's reading The Cat in a Hat, and she's
Yeah.
just like appalled by Cat in a Hat. I'm just
Yeah.
like,
You're happy.
Yes. Yeah, that was great. So let's talk about Christopher Llyod. And like I said, my only critique of him, and you can really say about any movie, is I feel like he is one of the actors that always plays himself. He is always Christopher Llyod in whatever role he's in. I felt like a lot of Fester here reminded me of Doc Brown.
But not
You
of
know.
the villain from Star Trek 3.
That's true. That's true. I wasn't thinking about
Boom,
that.
I'll be that guy.
But And maybe it's just the older he got, the more Christopher Llyod he got, in his acting.
Well,
But
maybe by
that's
that
just
point
my
in
observation.
maybe by that point in your career, you don't really have to worry too much about changing up your acting style too much.
Oh, he's getting that Back to the Future money to this day.
Yeah,
That's right. He's still getting royalties from that stuff. Yeah. But he did nail it. And, I read that, he's a very tall person. So in a lot of scenes, he's having to bend down. You'll see Fester bend down. And it's because Fester is supposed to be a shorter character, So that was kind of cool. And I think the actor they got to play Gomez just absolutely nailed it.
Raul Julia, that guy was the man.
Yes,
he was a huge star for Spanish audiences. Then he came here, and he was in movies in the 80s. He was in the Addams Family movies. Then he was the villain in Street Fighter. He was M. Bison.
Oh, I didn't.
Fighter against Van Damme.
Didn't realize that. That's interesting. That's cool.
Yeah.
But
that guy was a killer actor.
He was a killer, and I think he passed away late 90s from cancer or something like that.
He died right after Street Fighter.
Mm.
He was really sick filming that, but he kept doing it. I mean, he's kind of got a cool story.
Yeah.
Then Angelica Houston as Morticia.
Yeah.
She was nominated for awards, not for playing Morticia, but
she was an award-winning actress,
and
she was actually the second option. That she was not the first casting option for this. Cher was, and
makes
when
sense. Cher is
Morticia, but they realized once they had Gomez cast that they really needed to rethink the Cher, that they didn't want to go down that road. They didn't feel like she would fit, and I agree. Yeah. So here, I don't know. Here's something that maybe hasn't been thought out. Like I was trying to figure out, within the Addams Family universe, because you've got the quote unquote Addams Family, and they're the outcasts. But who or what was Morticia's maiden name, and how does the fact that there is at least one more family who is outcasts too, that's not Addams, but I don't know that you ever get that information.
I don't think so.
Yeah. And I think that's part of my overthinking of the Addams Family universe. I don't think anyone's ever fleshed that out.
If I had to guess, it would be like she was probably born into like a quote unquote normal family, and
I don't think so, because the grandmama is her mother.
Oh, okay. So
she's not normal.
Yeah, I don't know that.
I thought they were like Targaryens, and Gomez and Morticia were siblings.
Well, I was even thinking that, like, are they cousins? Were they both Addams? Like, but I mean, I doubt it. I'd say that they just have not fleshed out an expanded universe that I want.
You probably really don't need to in a way, because if you think about it, because like all the characters are so likable that's on screen, and I mean, it's funny how they can make a hand have so much emotions and feel like
my goodness, Thing is such a great character. The fact he does this was actually he drives the car.
He drives the car.
Yeah,
he can't see, he can't work the pedals, but still it works.
But I also like I think it was in the first movie. I watched the first movie before I watched the second one this time, just to be a completist. And there's a scene where I believe Morticia is locked up. She gets captured by the villains of the movie, the house broker guy or whatever, or the accountant guy, and then the Fester and his mother. They capture her and lock her up, and that was a lot of like the bondage stuff that you end up getting from the movie, where she was like enjoying it. That she was and so Thing actually witnesses this, and he goes back to Gomez, who is they're living at a hotel right now.
That's right.
And he goes back to the hotel, and he's doing sign language to tell him. And well, actually, I think he he does sign language, but he's going too quick, so he can't. Gomez can't understand him. So then he does Morse code.
Oh, yeah.
I'm like, this is a great scene with Thing. Like,
Doesn't Gomez say, "You're talking too fast. I can't
you're
follow
talking
you."
too fast. And it is
I say that to kids in the summer. I'm like, "You're talking too fast."
yeah. So it's just amazing what they did with Thing, and the only character that I guess I just don't care for in general is Pugsley. I don't feel like he adds anything to the movie other than just being the kind of the punching post for Wednesday.
He's not a real character.
Yeah. So that's the only one that I would say it's not really needed in the family. If you're going to kill off one, it might as well be Pugsley.
I think the movies balance like the comedy and the kind of like the horror aspect of what to like really well. Like it's straight up. It's not exactly there's enough adult jokes in it to like that sometimes the kids will not notice yet, but like it's not over the top with the adult jokes.
Very clever.
It is very clever.
Yeah.
And if you're a kid, you're not going to notice the jokes that they do, especially the I guess the kink between Gomez and Morticia and all of the adult jokes that they kind of say. You're not going to notice that as a kid, but now as an adult, you're like, wow, I was amazed at the stuff that they have in this.
Yeah.
So and I think the Addams Family does right what Beetlejuice should have done.
Oh yeah, 100%.
Because they both fall into this dark comedy category, but I feel like the Addams Family takes itself seriously, and Beetlejuice didn't.
They're not in on the joke.
They're not in on the joke, right? And I felt like the only parts of Beetlejuice that I would have liked really is when it was taking itself seriously, which was very few and far between. Addams Family, throughout the entire movie, they take themselves seriously, and it comes off better in a dark comedy.
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like I think it definitely did better with balancing the comedy and the dark than Beetlejuice. I think just Beetlejuice, like we, I don't want to make this a Beetlejuice podcast, but like I feel like with the change of the scripts, it just kind of that's what hurt it. But with this, I feel like they had an idea what they wanted, and it's like we're not going to direct. We're going to make this like into the PG realm, but like it's not exactly a kids or a strictly a hard R or anything. It's just going to be a PG style comedy, dark fantasy, whatever you want to call it, gothic horror, whatever.
Yeah. So something else that I found kind of humorous is the scene where Fester is living with his wife Debbie, and he is making a dinner. I forget, was it Valentine's Day maybe or something like that. He had the apron with the heart on it. And he's making it, and she had obviously this plan to blow him up,
right? And
she puts the bomb in a gift, and I'm sitting here thinking, this is Jokie Smurf. There's a bomb in this gift. Like I wanted to see him open it up and then blow up. I think it's Jokie Smurf. Oh,
I thought the toaster bit was pretty funny too.
Yeah, it was.
That was just so good.
It was hilarious when she come to figure out I can't kill this man. Like you cannot kill him. So, and then Thing runs her over with the car. So
we don't understand the physics, but we know it worked.
That's right. So yeah, what about I feel like there was a lot of great material in the summer camp scenes, especially with the camp attendants or whoever the running the camp. And Nate, you should relate to a lot of this. You do summer camp stuff, right?
Yeah, but when I direct camp, I'm Wednesday.
You're not singing Kumbaya.
No. When I direct camp and they're like, "What are we going to do today?" I don't know, kids. You don't get out of my face. You're going to find out. That kind of stuff.
Yeah.
You know,
When are we
those
going to
camp-
the pool? I don't know, man. Hey, what if it rains today? We're going to the pool. What do you want me to tell you? I can't control the weather. You know, I'm that guy.
you, whatever the camp counselors is on, like whatever medication they're on, has to be some strong stuff. Because
Oh, yeah.
That's some strong stuff. I mean,
I have
just
worked with
over the
those
top.
I have
Over
worked
the
with
top.
those people where nothing phases them, and it drives me crazy.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought the scene where like they are like, they're trying to like swim or throw them in the, and she's
Mhm.
like, "You need to jump in and save her." She's like, she's like, "Nope."
No.
But they explain that one of you are going to be the victim, and the other is going to be the lifeguard, the lifesaver.
She goes,
And then
"Amanda's
and then
always gonna be the
the other girl was just enthusiastic to be the victim, and so she jumps in, and then the Wednesday is standing there. They're like, "Okay, no, Wednesday, jump in and save her," and she's like, "I can't swim."
Yeah, that's right.
I can't swim. Oh goodness! I mean that, and then so I guess really the best part of Pugsley in this movie was being the turkey. Eat me. That was funny.
This is how good of an actress Christina Ricci is. Like when she's having to watch like those Disney films or
Mhm.
whatever, and she has to smile, and it's her killing her.
Oh, it's the creepiest
that
smile
was-
I've ever seen.
That
It's
made me like
terrifying.
cringe a little bit. I'm just like, oh my god, that's all. Like just because
But
like she played that character so well.
So well, and that's where you get the Nate. You mentioned before we started recording that she has these big eyes. It's almost like Disney eyes or something.
The giant
And
anime eyes. Yeah.
The giant
Oh,
anime eyes. And this is where you see it when she smiles and those giant eyes. and
Look
that's
at the
just
giant
her look.
anime eyes today. Allison Hannigan, Mila Kunis, giant
Mhm.
anime eyes. I'm not saying they're unattractive, but
Right.
they have big eyes. Amanda Seyfried, whatever her name is. They have the
Mhm.
giant anime eyes.
Yep.
It's
That's
just an
exactly-
observation. It's not an insult. It's really a compliment.
Yeah. Absolutely.
I just tried to explain something that was a compliment. I didn't do a very good job. I grew
But-
up with the guy who, as a young adult, he was madly in love with Christina Ricci. Anything she
Mhm.
would do, he was like, "Oh, she's so good in this. Oh, you got to see this." And you're like, "No, that's okay."
Yeah, I mean, being my around 91, 92 when these movies came out, I would have been 5 and 6 years old.
Just a wee lad.
I was just a wee lad, and she would have been older than me, and I was definitely that she was a crush for sure. And I love that this was her breakout role in Addams Family, and then she went on to do things like Casper and Sleepy Hollow, and this and I'm
That's my
trying to-
favorite, by the way.
She did Wes Craven's Curse, which is another movie that is we can talk about sometime in the future, but she played in that. She did the remake of That Darn Cat.
Yeah.
That was
She was also in the movie The Monster
yeah.
from the 2000s, and that was a good movie. But yeah, great actress, great
She
actress.
was born in 1982. That's not right. 1980.
So she's 6
So
years.
she's just a little younger than me, a couple years.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Although to this day, I couldn't name 5 movies that woman was ever in. Sleepy Hollow, both Addams Family's movies, both of the Addams Family's movies
Mm-hmm.
that I've seen. I mean, I can't name them.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like she blew up in the 90s.
Yeah, she's she still acts today. I just don't know.
She
all of
does.
them.
Yeah, I don't watch a lot of the movies that she's in now for some reason.
I couldn't tell you any.
Yeah.
I think that's something that's also changed because I was watching a video today and it was like most people don't go to movies anymore or based on strictly the actor in
Oh
the
no.
film. It's basically like I can't remember who it may have been J-Lo or something like because now your name doesn't sell as much as it used to.
That's a good
It's-
point.
Yeah. And to me that's a good thing because like I'm thinking like I feel like it gives the viewers
You read that interview with Quentin Tarantino.
Oh, was that it? Oh well,
Because today, he came out, it was released today that he said, "We don't have movie stars. Nobody cares about who plays Captain America. Captain America is the star." Nobody
Well,
cares about whatever character. They're the star. I don't agree with him at all. I think Quentin Tarantino is like a lot of other directors, and
yeah,
that he's jealous that he can't get on the superhero train or the
Yeah.
blockbuster.
yeah. I think
But
film.
there
Yeah,
is
that's.
something to that because Robert Downey Jr. was the biggest star in the world until he left Marvel, and
Mhm.
then he made Doctor Doolittle, and now he's like, "Hey, maybe Iron Man's not dead, guys." So I mean,
Good
there
point.
are movie
Yeah.
stars. Tom Hanks is a movie star. Denzel
Mhm.
Washington is a movie star. Leonardo DiCaprio is a movie star.
Yeah.
Sorry, that was a little
And
tangent.
I think that when you become a superhero character, it really is difficult to break away and do anything else but that. And I'm trying to think. Andrew Garfield, I think, was able to do it, but maybe only because the Amazing Spider-Man wasn't as successful as the other Spider-Man movies.
Right.
Toby Maguire, he
Still
didn't
hasn't.
really do anything post Spider-Man, did he?
When
Yeah,
I was I was
he did a
agreeing with
war.
Matt.
Yeah, he did a war movie with Jake Gyllenhaal. Forget what's called, but like he played a brother who supposedly died
Oh yeah, I
overseas.
remember that.
Oh yeah.
Brothers. It was something
Yeah,
brothers.
yeah.
Brothers in the title of it. Yeah.
So, but like other than that, I don't really recall a whole lot of like
Well,
other. I mean, anybody that's like that has played in superheroes that has a lot of other name movies usually had those movies before the superhero role, like Jake Gyllenhaal.
Right. Right. And I'm thinking of, Christian Bale, for example. What did he do after Batman? I don't know
whatever
that
he wanted.
whatever he wanted. I can't think of any movie that he's been in that was successful post Batman. You know, so I do think that it is potentially a danger for an actor to take on a role like that. Now, if you are an upcoming actor and you really haven't been in a whole heck of a lot of, I guess, successful movies, then sure, take it on. Why not? You know,
You take the money.
hmm
you take the money. That's
You
right.
take the money.
Now,
Um,
if you're lucky enough to be casted in a superhero film and you're young, you know, you have youth on your side, then it's very likely you're going to be that superhero from there on, you know, as long as you don't age out. And unfortunately,
I think now people appreciate the idea of like being part of a certain franchise because like, I feel like back then people hated it. Like Harrison Ford hated Star Wars,
Yeah, gosh.
and
If Harrison Ford hadn't been in Star Wars, he'd be the best looking carpenter in LA. Tom
yeah.
Selleck or somebody would have been Indiana Jones.
I just, I mean, I like that things are changing, and it's almost like we. I mean, I feel like the viewers always had control of how things are, but like I feel like if you don't adapt to how things are now, that's
Right.
why some movies just don't do it because they're still trying to sell it like they used to,
Right.
and
But I think we all get the idea of not wanting to be typecast or we don't want to
yeah,
be judged by what we used to do.
hmm
I get that idea, but I have to admit it drives me crazy when these actors are like, "Oh, I don't want to talk about that role that made me famous and made me millions." All right, well, I'm not going to go see the next art house project you do.
See, that's
I don't
something
want to go
else
see
that
Harrison
really,
Ford
yeah,
as the gardener. I'll go see 90-year-old Harrison Ford as Indiana Jones any day.
and they're going to de-age them probably with CGI.
Mhm.
Right. I mean, you know what I'm saying. I think you're right that there used to be a stigma to the franchise and the.
Mhm.
Can you imagine if these actors from the Addams Family were like, "We're not going to ever do anything else where we wear black the whole movie"?
hmm
Why would you be crazy enough? I mean, it's the same mentality.
Yeah.
There's something that kind of, I mean, I'm not that deep into it, but like whenever I read something about an actor that kind of, they did really good financially with a movie, right? And then years later, they're like, oh yeah, that I regret doing that. I was like, do you really?
How
Like,
dumb.
yeah. Like, even if it didn't age well with the content, do you really regret the paycheck?
Did the check bounce? If not, then you need to be thankful for every job you ever had.
Yeah.
That's right. That's
Now, if the
right.
check bounce, it's a different story.
So here's another fun fact about Addams Family. The actress Mercedes McNab, she played Amanda
Yeah.
Buckman, the girl.
Yeah, she went on to be in
She
Buffy the Vampire Slayer and Angel and Hatchet.
Oh wow, I didn't
didn't know
realize that.
I'm a
But
little bit
she
of a
was
fan.
she was actually in the original Addams Family movie. She played a Girl Scout that went up to Wednesday and Pugsley's lemonade stand wanting
right.
lemonade. Yeah. So I thought that was kind of interesting that they were able to tie into that. So that was kind of cool. But yeah, I guess going back to the camp scenes. I mean, and I guess we've already really talked about this, but when they get to the part where Wednesday flips the switch, it's funny. She plays along a little bit.
But what are all the parents doing? They just
Do what?
sit there.
They just sit there. Yeah, and so Wednesday and all of these other kids are dressed like Native Americans. They are just completely wrecking this thing, torching it. They have someone tied up, and it looks like they're roasting them.
That's the camp directors.
It's the camp directors, yeah, and the parents are just sitting there.
I mean,
some
what
of
do
them
you do?
actually got flipped back. I mean,
Like, what do you
I
do?
don't know.
Might as well enjoy the shit show, I guess.
Yeah, man, I don't know.
That was such a great scene.
I think there was one, I can't remember which parent it was, but it's like, we paid $20,000 for this, and he's hanging out with hooligans or something like that.
Yeah, it was
Wednesday's boyfriend.
Yeah, who we will be discussing in the movie Santa Claus later this year. And he was in a few movies, a few notorious movies. This Santa Claus, and I'm trying to think, there was one other in the 90s that he was in. I think he was in 10 Things I Hate About You.
Okay.
With
We'll
Heath
keep
Ledger.
talking about that movie a lot. You guys like it a lot more than I do.
I do. I've watched it quite a few times. That's probably one of Renee's favorite movies, and I watch it with her. So
You got two
I
actors.
like how you threw her under the bus.
yeah,
She can't defend herself.
any time I need to admit that I watched a show or a movie that I probably shouldn't be watching as a white male, I would throw her under the bus. Like, yeah, well, she made me do it.
Yeah. You do a lot of things for the girls you love, guys.
It's like I would always get a hard time from my friends at work when they found out that I watched Teen Mom, and now that legit, I'm stating on the record, that legit was because of Renee. But I will admit, I got interested. And I feel like if you watch something enough, you will get interested.
Well, yeah, man. Have you ever been by a car wreck? You can't help but watch.
Yeah.
Oh goodness.
I can't remember what show that happened with me and Lisa. She was watching a show, and I would just like sit down and watch it with. I'm like, oh, this is dumb. And then a couple episodes, I'm like, well, what's going on now? Like, why is he? It's like,
That's right. When you start asking questions, you're interested now. And that's what happened with me. Is we'll get a few episodes in where I wasn't paying attention, and then I start asking questions. Well, who's that? Like, what kid is that? Like, who's the daddy here? Like,
who's this guy? Who's this guy?
Yeah.
What's that guy?
Yeah. Good stuff.
I'm not
All
telling
right.
another story.
So what else we got related to this movie?
I will say I love the casting of these movies. But both of them, but I noticed it more in Values. Because even some of the stunt casting, like the camp directors were Peter McNichol, who was the villain in Ghostbusters 2 and a million other movies. Christine Baranski, who was on a TV show at the time, but even now, she's Leonard's mom from The Big Bang Theory.
Sheldon's mom. No, she's Leonard's mom. You're right. Yeah. She's Leonard's mom, and her and Sheldon is like...
She likes Sheldon.
She likes Sheldon, that's right.
Or Amanda's dad, the guy with the dark hair, kind of a jock. He was the same guy in every movie in the 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
Joan Cusack was Debbie. That's a well-cast film.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, it was fun. You could tell they were having a good time filming it. You could tell they were enjoying. I mean, those are the movies you like to watch.
Also, go ahead, finish your.
No, that's pretty much it.
I was just going to say the music in both of these movies is spot on. Like, and they basically took the original theme song and made it all kinds of versions of it in classical type romance music with symphonies and stuff. It's so beautiful the way and when with Gomez and Morticia's dancing to it. Oh wow, I just love it.
Where do
like-
Gomez and Morticia rank on your all-time favorite screen couples?
Probably number one.
They have a beautiful relationship.
They do. They
would
do.
rank
And
up there. If I had to think about it, they would rank.
yeah, absolutely.
I feel like they did so well with the second one that if they could have done a third one and been just as good, this probably would have been one of those rare times where it would have been like almost a perfect trilogy of like,
True, and it's rare that when you get a sequel that is as good or better than the first, and that's the case here.
Yeah, it's as good for sure.
Yeah. The only thing I liked about the first, not more, but I just liked the idea that Fester had amnesia. He didn't know who he was, and he showed up, and he was part of a scam to take the Addams fortune, and then it turns out, well, he actually is Fester, and I thought that was such a funny part of the movie. And I read that was not the original story, and the actors actually protested for the writer to change it, so that Fester would be actually Fester. So the original idea was it would end in a way that you don't know if he was actually Fester. This may have been a long game for him, but they all protested that he has to be Fester. It's probably because Christopher Llyod was such a good Fester. They're like, he has to be Fester. There is no other Fester's going to show up here.
By the way, did you know Fester means to rot?
Yeah, to rot. Yeah.
That's my favorite part of the movie. My name's dementia. It means insanity. My name's Fester. It means to rot. I'm like, that's good. That's nice.
Yeah, I didn't realize, and maybe it's just not knowing enough about the Addams Family lore, but I always thought that Fester was more intelligent than what he is, but he's not that intelligent. He seems to come off dumb a lot. Actually, Gomez is, I think, much more intelligent than what Fester is. Now, Fester, he does tinkering. He's almost a scientist in a way, a mad scientist, and that's probably what his character is supposed to be, as a mad scientist.
I can't remember much from the show, and I know I used to watch it when it was in syndication.
Yeah, I had a NES game, I believe, of the Addams Family from the original show, and you were Fester, and you go around, and I believe you have bombs and stuff. You're blowing up stuff, and I don't remember the point of the game. I just remember you're Fester and you're blowing up stuff. So that's all fun. It's all you need to do. Yeah, and I love. Let's talk about the house for a minute, because that iconic house has been in all kinds of stuff. I mean, it was iconic because that was the original home in the show, the Addams Family. But before that, actually, it was the same home they used in Psycho.
Oh, okay.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. And from there on, it's been in all these series. So it was in Bates Motel. It's been in all the Addams Family movies. I would hope that they did the same thing for Wednesday, that they use the same house. Like, it's, it's just the outdoor shot of the house. That's the same house they use. But it's amazing that it's went through all these iterations of movies, and it's still standing. And it's as much of an icon of the movie as anything else.
I agree.
Is the house.
Everything from like the set pieces to like the clothing to music. I mean, this was well done, and it did not seem like it was a chore to get through. Like, this was a very fun movie to watch.
Yeah, well, it goes quick.
It does go quick. Yep.
Also, $20,000 for a summer camp. If it was all summer, maybe. That's a lot for a summer.
That's a lot.
Yeah.
That's 90s. That's 90s value. It would be way more now. So, yeah, I mean, I think that was part of the point of the summer camp, is showing all these rich kids, gathering together, spending a ridiculous amount of money to go to something that's not worth $20,000. But I love that, among these rich kids and these rich families, the Addams family is part of that society. They're rich.
Yeah.
They're wealthy.
and that's such a cool little thing about the movies. Like it's so unexpected, and it puts like a damper on the typical like white America at the time. Like like they don't look like us or whatever.
Yeah, and I think that's one of the overarching themes of maybe both movies is it is contrasting what white wealthy America is, and then to add the Native American Wednesday stuff in here to throw that into your face. Yeah, it's so good. So good the way they did it. And I think, Nate, you made this point. It didn't seem like that was controversial. Like, I don't think anyone was necessarily blowing up that they were saying that or doing that.
There was no woke culture in 1992.
True, but there was rich liberals. And I think that's probably a lot of what you were seeing as the fake rich people is people who would consider themselves liberal. And it was being thrown up in their face that you are not as moral on things as you think you are. Yeah. So I don't know. I felt it was really well done. When you make a political statement, I think to do it like they did in the Addams Family Values is the way to do it. Don't make the entire movie about it. Just something that point. It's a strong point, but it's a scene, and I think it fits so well that way.
Yeah, like if your message overshadows like everything else, then you're not really gonna have a good script. You're just too much focused on
you end up
on a message.
You end up really dividing the audience when you make a movie that seems to have an agenda, and it's just you're beating your overhead over this point. Then you divide the audience, and you end up with whatever side of the fence is the only people that's going to really watch and like it. The other side is just going to complain about it, on social media now. Didn't have that in the 90s, of course, but I feel like this movie is not divisive. Everybody can watch this, and even if you take offense to them pointing out that we've whitewashed history on Thanksgiving, they probably don't care that much because it's just one scene that they did that.
Well,
that's my point.
Well, there was the scene where they're doing the dinner, and they're like, they call them savages. Like she's like, these savages brought us, what I'm like,
these savages. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm like, wow, like that just should, like the upper class, just the way they use terminology, but yet they try to act like, okay, we care about this little man. Like it's no, you really don't. It's just like the Dead Kennedys song "Holiday in Cambodia." It's like that whole thing matches that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Well, I guess we have talked enough about Addams Family Values, but it holds up, and it's one of my favorite movies. So,
it's a good one.
It's a good one.
Plus.
All right. Moving on to what we're going to talk about next week. And so we are now entering the Christmas season of our podcast. So starting, first week of December, we will be kicking off with a couple of TV shows. So, I think growing up, we all remember in the beginning of the Christmas season, you're going to get some good shows, some quick shows, classics, Christmas classics. So we're going to tackle Rudolph, the Red-Nosed Reindeer. And that was from what? Was it the 50s or the 60s? Or was it earlier than that?
Well, it couldn't have been earlier than that.
Probably 60s or 70s, because it was in
color. I mean, it was basically like stop 64. And it's basically like stop motion, right? That's what they do with it. And so we're going to do Rudolph and the Grinch, the original Grinch TV series.
1966.
66. So that's going to be interesting. There was other good choices. Frosty is another classic, and I'm trying to think. Was it the
Year Without a Santa Claus?
The Year
With
Without
the
Santa
guys
Claus.
with
That's
the
what I was trying to
pole
think of.
vaulting.
Yes, that is a classic too. and it's funny because all of these really come on at the same time. It was almost like back to back, or day to day that they would have a different episode of something,
Yeah.
Like
and all of
25
these were
Days of
played during.
Christmas.
Mhm.
It was
Yep.
yeah.
So I can remember watching all of these in the same week, maybe, and there's just very fond memories of these shows as a kid. So I'm looking forward to rediving back into it. I'm hoping that Jim Carrey's Grinch doesn't cloud my judgment, because I will spoil that I loved that movie. I think it's one of a great Grinch movie. And with Jim Carrey, he plays Jim Carrey.
Mhm.
He has a Grinch suit on, but he's Jim Carrey. But it fits the Grinch. So I'm
not
hoping
gonna
that
for that episode.
I'm hoping that my fandom of Jim Carrey as the Grinch doesn't cloud the original. Because I know I did like the original as a kid. Hopefully that sticks around when I rewatch it.
If you think that Jim Carrey, you know what? I don't want to talk to you about it right now.
We're no longer talking about the Grinch. Oh goodness. Who owns the rights to the Jim Carrey version? It's not Disney, is it?
It was a DreamWorks.
No, it's
movie.
it's
Is it
Universal.
DreamWorks? Universal, because Universal has at the Universal park, they have a Grinch thing, and they have a character that looks a lot like the Jim Carrey version. They have actors play that as part of the park event, and I know there's like a TikTok of the official Grinch, and he's hilarious. Like he's horrible. Which is a great Grinch, but he's horrible to everybody. So that should be fun. All right. Well, I look forward to next week, but for now, we are going to end with closing quotes. And as you probably expect, I am going to quote Wednesday from the
Of course.
from the camp scene where she's playing Pocahontas. So here we go. You have taken the land that is rightfully ours. Years from now, my people will be forced to live in mobile homes on reservations. Your people will wear cardigans and drink highballs. We will sell our bracelets by the roadside. You will play golf and enjoy hot hors d'oeuvres. My people will be pain and degradation, and for all these reasons, I have decided to scalp you and burn your village to the ground.
Happy Thanksgiving.
Happy Thanksgiving, everybody. See ya. Thank you so much for tuning into the podcast. We hope that we were able to entertain you at least for a spell. If you see value in our craziness and want to continue supporting us, please follow us on social media. Subscribe to our YouTube channel, like our videos, and share our content with someone you may know. Also, let us know how we're doing. Make suggestions for the podcast. Leave us a comment. Heck, send us an email. Thanks again, and we'll see you next time on the Bottle of Pop Culture podcast.